everybody. Welcome back to Gun Nerds TV. This is our second episode, and it's now a week later. It doesn't quite feel like a week. Have you guys been here for a whole week?
We've traveled since then.
Yeah. All right. Well, on my left, I have Richard Archie. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Richard?
I am the West Tennessee Regional Director of the Tennessee Firearms Association. We're a grassroots organization of Tennessee sportsmen and shooters who go to Nashville and lobby for our firearms rights.
All right. And on my right, I have a gun nerd, Mike Frommel. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Mike?
Work in live production and just a very avid shooter. Enjoy all things that go bang.
All right. Well, let me ask you, Richard, to get to know you a little bit. What would you say was your most memorable or best shot that you've ever taken?
It would have to be when I was in college. At that point, I lived in Greenfield, Tennessee, and went to school at UT Martin. I had been duck hunting that morning and had noticed that there was a cripple out on the water when I had to go to class, so I had to fold up everything and go in. Later that afternoon, I came back down to hunt again, and as I was getting into my P-row, because that's what I did, I hunted out of a P-row at the time and had some stakes driven in, I could clamp it off. I heard a squawk behind me and turned around and looked, and there was a raccoon that had caught that crippled duck from earlier that morning, and I laid my shotgun back over my shoulder and with one shot killed them both. So I was able to feed my family for about 4 meals with one shot, and that was my most memorable shot.
Very cool. And what would you say is the best shot that you've ever seen taken?
I watched a guy the other day on TV that was standing up on his hind legs shooting a .50 caliber, and at 1,000 yards he was able to ding the plate. And to me, that was an amazing situation.
Yeah, I've seen that video. No rest, no anything.
Nothing.
Yeah, we'll link to that video below. It's amazing.
It is.
All right, Mike, what do you think? What was your best shot that you've ever taken?
It would have to be when I was younger. Go out shooting with my dad. We had a little bit of land that we could shoot on in a big gully, and we were shooting cans and small targets.
Right.
And there were some honeysuckle that were kind of growing, hanging down. I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world that we could.
So all the people that are not in West, this part of the southern part of the country are thinking honeysuckle. What's that?
It's just a small green vine that has really small flowers that grow on it.
Just Google it.
Yeah. Sorry about my countryness. But when I was really young, we would go out and they grew down on the bank where we shot, so it was still safe.
Right.
And we would shoot those little flowers off that vine with our .22 rifle, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Nice. Well, what's the most memorable shot that you've ever seen?
Most memorable shot that I've ever seen in person, I was at the range shooting with one of my friends at the time. He was a law enforcement officer in Jackson, Tennessee, ex-military armor, and I thought I was just smoking it. I thought I was doing great. We were shooting a B-27, full silhouette target. I'm just, wearing the X-ring out. I'm just doing awesome. He's like, so you think that's pretty good? I'm like, yeah, man, that's great. I said, what are you shooting? I look over and his target's empty. He shot my scoring target in the corner and put them all, in the black. That thing is, it's like very small. I was like, all right, I'm bad. I'm sorry. But I always thought that was amazing that he had that much control, with a handgun.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, well, when we come back, we're going to talk about the AR platform, so stay tuned. All right, now we're going to get to the best part of the show, talk about guns. We have some AR platform guns out on the table. Before we get into these guns, let's talk about the history a little bit. I know a lot of people often refer to AR as assault rifle, which is not correct. What is the correct acronym for AR?
Well, the original deal for it was Armalite rifle is what they were the manufacturers. Actually, Stoner started the first original design that was purchased by Armalite, and that's what the AR-15 stood for. Was AR, and then the model number of that, the 15. So it does not stand for assault rifle; it stands for Armalite rifle.
Right, and then they sold that to Colt.
To Colt, that's correct.
And Colt then produced them for the military, and now this is referred to as an AR-15, even if it's made by Smith & Wesson, Colt, Barrett, doesn't matter. It's an AR-15, and that's fine. There's so many different variants and options you can do with these. I saw a funny thing. Someone said it's like a Barbie doll for guys. You can put all kinds of accessories. You can do everything you want. We got lasers, magnifiers, red dot sights, backup sights, literally anything you want to do, you can do. Some people get a little carried away. I got this picture. It's somebody's got, when you put a flashlight and then you put a backup flashlight and then you put a backup to the backup flashlight and then you have a laser and then you have a backup laser, you can get ridiculous. You can make this, gun weigh 50 pounds and completely unusable. But let's just talk about what makes an AR-15 an AR-15. What's the part of this gun that makes it the AR platform?
Well, basically what you're going to talk about in an AR platform is that you have a lower receiver which contains the fire control group. That's the trigger for the uninitiated. And you've got a magazine housing at a magazine well that will allow you to load your ammunition into the rifle.
Right.
It has a handle that allows you to breach that and put a round into battery, and then it's a semi-automatic. For each time you pull the trigger, it will fire and reload one round.
Right, and that's the big difference. We as civilians, we are allowed to buy semi-automatic weapons, not automatic weapons. And that term gets thrown out there. They say, well, he was using a semi-auto weapon.
Yeah.
And that's one shot, one trigger pull.
Correct.
That's all that is. There's nothing, just because this gun looks like a military gun, this is not a military gun. This is a sporting rifle that is semi-auto, not full auto. And you put a standard capacity magazine, holds 30 rounds, which is very useful. These I recommend these. These are PMags. They last a really long time. They're very, very durable. You can drop them, throw them around. They're not gonna break on you. And this particular one, of course, there's different colors, but this one I use with this rifle. This one is actually chambered in 300 blackout. And what's cool about 300 blackout is that you use the same 5.56 223 magazine, because the casing is from a 5.56, and they cut it short, and then they stick a big 30 cal bullet into it, and so you can shoot a big round with you still get 30 rounds out of this bad boy. And I think a lot of the police are starting to go to this, because you can get it in subsonic. So you throw a silencer or a suppressor on the end of this, and it's quiet as or quieter than an MP5.
Right.
And instead of 9mm, you're shooting a very large cartridge, which I think is a big advantage. Mike, what's your experience with AR-15s, and what's your take on these?
They're extraordinarily fun to shoot. I mean, they're very easy to shoot, even though they look complicated. Depending on how much dressing up you do of the rifle.
That's what gun nerds bring to the table. Is
we're gonna nerd this up.
They are fun to shoot.
They are fun.
They are fun. You rip off 30 rounds in one of these, you can't help but smile. You've got to smile. There's no way to shoot this gun, at a target, at a paper target, and not smile. They're just fun to shoot.
Right. Well, they're very controllable.
Right. Low recoil. And
you can get any color you want. You can get any accessory you want. No matter what variant you choose in the AR family, all the controls are the same. So you would buy a Barrett AR right here that is awesome. Does everything. You can put optics, whatever you want onto it. And then before kind of the ammo got a little more scarce, you could grab this Smith & Wesson M&P 1522 that's chambered for a 22 long rifle.
Right.
And you could go out and plink all day long on all the same controls, so you could practice, kind of train yourself, do anything you want to do with that firearm, and it transfers right over to this one.
Right.
And all you have to do is throw a little bit more expensive ammo in it, and go out and shoot.
Let's talk about the different chamberings. This one's in 5.56, 223. This one's in 22 long rifle. This one's in 300 blackout. What other chamberings are there in
Well, I mean, they go all the way from 17 caliber all the way up to 50. I mean, you can go with the 50 Beowulf, which basically uses a very short squat round, and the caliber is controlled basically by the length of the receiver. You have two different receiver groups. You have the one for the 243 308, which is the LA series instead of the AR series.
Right.
And then you have the standard. And there are a lot of different variants. I personally have a Wildcat cartridge that is a 25 by 223, which is basically the same thing as the Blackout, but instead of going to a 30 caliber bullet, I went to a 25.
Right.
It uses the same 223 or 5.56 base cartridge as the parent, but it's just necked up to a 25 instead of a 22. You know, I've seen people in 308, the 50 Beowulf, 243 is another one, the 260, the 6.8. I mean, there's anything that your little old heart desires, you can put in that rifle in one of the different configurations that it has.
Yeah.
And so it's, you know, basically it's a plug and play. Anything you want on it, you can get. And you can either shoot a plain Jane with iron sights, or you can put optics on it.
Right.
You know, the different free float barrels. I have a older model Colt that was their H-bar, which they considered the sniper rifle of the day. Extremely accurate. It's got a real fast twist barrel, which makes it necessary for you to shoot a heavier bullet, because the faster your twist, the larger the bullet it will stabilize. The original chambering for the M16 and the AR was a 1 in 12 barrel, and that shot a 55 grain bullet and did it very well. I have several that are 1 in 7 twists that shoot a 75 grain or an 80 grain bullet now, because the faster the twist barrel, the bigger the bullet it will stabilize. So it's whatever you so choose and desire, you can find it in the AR platform.
Right. Yeah, I think that's one of the cool things that you mentioned, optics. You know, you can go with a red dot sight like this, or a holographic sight. You can go with a scope. You can you can get, these things will reach out to a very long distance. You know, even in 5.56 will reach out. You know, even better in, say, 308 or some of the bigger calibers. But, you know, you can change out the triggers. You can change out every part that's on this gun. You can change out. You know, I built this gun from scratch. You know, every part I ordered specifically. This is the one I want. This is the trigger I want. This is the bolt I want. You know, it's if you've never built an AR-15, do it. And do it yourself. Don't take it somewhere. Don't buy the parts and take it somewhere and have them do it. You can have someone who's maybe done it before help you. There's a lot of videos to watch. But it really is, being a gun nerd, it's a really fun process to go from, you know, here's just a metal receiver, nothing in it. I'm going to put all the parts in and make this gun.
It's like Legos for grown-ups.
It is like Legos for grown-ups. You know, what about like price points for someone who's never purchased one of these guns? You know, Mike, you know, what is your AR-15? You know, what price point did you get into your AR-15?
I got into my kind of entry level Bushmaster AR, just you know, no frills, iron sights, no adjustable stock, anything like that. I mean, it was like $800.
Right. Yeah, for $600 to $800, you can get an AR-15 that shoots 223. You know, get a few magazines, iron sights, and have a blast. You know, it's a great, fun gun. You can, you know, shoot varmints and, you know, different things.
You can hunt game.
Yeah,
I mean, you can.
It literally is legal in the state of Tennessee now with the 223 deer hunt. So, personally, I've got a shorter barrel. I've got a 16.5-inch barrel on a little carbine that I use for coyote hunting, because I have land in Weakley County and I do my best to keep the coyotes down. I purchased the ground up there to deer hunt on, so I do, you know, quite a bit of work to make sure that I eat the deer instead of the coyotes. But you know, I've got a little 16.5-inch with a Noveske barrel on that is lights out accurate.
Yeah,
and it's a great little gun because it doesn't weigh anything. You can carry it all day long. It's very portable. And I've got the holographic sight on it as well instead of a scope, because I'm probably going to be shooting at less than 150 yards in the train up there. But it's a great little rifle and absolutely dead accurate. That's the thing I like about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned about barrel length. You know, that's something that's that changes drastically on the different guns. This is a 16-inch barrel. This down here actually has an 8.5-inch barrel. Now, it's not an SBR. It's not a short-barreled rifle. It is a pistol. This gun is actually a pistol. It does not have a stock, and you cannot put a stock on it. And that's what makes it legal. That's why I don't have to have a tax stamp for this gun, is because there is no stock. If you are going to build a pistol, you need to look up all the laws and all the different things, because if you put a vertical grip on this, you're going to jail. If you put a stock on this, you're going to jail. So I don't want to scare anybody, but if you're going to build something like this, you definitely need to know your laws. But the advantages of building something like this in close quarters in a car or something like that, if you've got that short barrel, you can really manipulate the gun.
It's easy to wield.
Exactly,
yes.
Exactly. So what about the old piston versus gas debate? Where do you guys land on that?
You know, I own several ARs, and every one that I have is the old gas impingement system. You know, I've looked at, and they're quite a bit more expensive. The piston-driven weapons are really nice. Don't get me wrong. I like the thought process behind that, keeping that gas and dirt and stuff out of your action.
Right.
But by the same token, I have a rifle that probably has 100,000 rounds through it, and it's never failed to go bang when I pull the trigger on it. And it's a simple deal. If you keep your rifle clean, and if you understand its limitations, you've got to realize that the AR platform has been around for a long time.
Right.
You know, the one that I've got was made in 1974. Right. So you think about that. And to me, that seems not too long ago to my children. They're going 74. That's before I was born. You know.
Yeah.
Well, that's correct. But it's been a really good system for a long time. It does require maintenance. It's like anything. If you didn't change oil in your car, it wouldn't last long either. So it's a requirement that you clean them. The piston weapons are, in fact, a little better as far as that's concerned. Serviceability and periods between having clean, yes, that's correct. But, you know, I'm a nostalgic kind of guy. I like the old gas-driven myself.
Yeah, like this gun here, this Barrett is a piston gun. And, you know, when I pull this out, the bolt carrier and everything out to clean it, it's clean inside. Like, I just wipe it down with a rag and I'm done. It's kind of a lazy thing for me. Like, none of the gas gets back in here. This up here does get dirty, and the gas has to go somewhere. Yeah. And that's what's getting all mucked up, but not in your action. And that's why I like the piston system. I also like the gas system. I have several gas guns that I've never pulled the trigger and they didn't go bang. You know, is your gun a gas? I guess
my gun is gas.
Yeah. It's, you know, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. You know, there's reasons for both. The piston guns do tend to be a little heavier. They tend to be a lot more expensive. And so, you know, just kind of do some research. You know, I say get both. You know, if we're going to be gun nerds, let's just get both. So that's my solution to everything. I'll just buy two.
I need to have you come by and talk to my wife and help sell that situation for me.
How many guns do you really need? Just one more.
Yeah, that's correct.
More.
Josh said it was okay.
Yeah. Hey, tell all your wives out there, I said it's okay. How many? Just go count shoes. How many pairs of shoes does she have? No, don't do that. That's bad advice. If you want to stay married, don't count any shoes. Just say it's okay. So what do you get, Mike? What do you think about using an AR-15 for home defense?
I think there are pros and cons. You know, like with any weapon choice. My only, drawback to it is I want to know the ballistics of what is going to, what kind of round am I going to use? How far, I don't want to have to worry about over-penetration. As far as control and shot placement with an AR, they're extremely easy, to aim. I mean, you're not worried about all that huge recoil, like we talked about shotguns last week.
Right.
And, I mean, you can, if you needed a follow-up shot, I mean, tac, you're right there, you're right on target. It's not going to fly away. But again, maybe pick your load appropriately. Make some decisions, with, what kind of, I wouldn't go with something super hot, that's just going to kind of blow through and keep going.
Right.
But,
when I built this gun, I kind of had the home defense kind of thing in mind. You
Right.
know, it's 300 blackout, and you can actually get it in a really light load. You can get it in subsonic, and so it's a big projectile, not moving as fast as the 223. You know, like you said earlier, you know, if that's your only bike, ride it.
Right.
You know, like what gun is better? You know, it's better than throwing rocks.
That's correct.
You know, if you whatever gun you have, use that to protect your family. That's fine. I don't know that I would necessarily pick this over, say, a shotgun or, you know, some of the other weapons, but, you know, to each his own. I think a lot of people, this is their gun of choice for home defense, and I say, you know,
It's probably not my first choice, but
Right.
I'm not going to overlook it if it's
Yeah.
you know
Right.
if it's easy
Yeah.
there to get to, or if
Yeah.
that's what you've got.
I like that it's at home, accessible, ready
Right,
to go.
right.
I like that, you know, with this 22, I've trained so much, I've shot so much, and so I
Very
know
natural.
that I know that platform really
Right.
well. I know exactly where the safety.
Familiarity is something that a man needs, and it's like we've said a couple of times already. What a person has to do, regardless of what he's going to use for their home defense weapon, go to the range, make sure you're
Yes.
familiar, make
Right.
sure
Yeah.
that you know exactly what you have to do to function that weapon, where the safety mechanisms are, be aware of its capabilities, spend time, get to know your weapon.
It's got to be
regardless of what you're
second
gonna
nature
shoot.
to you. It's
Right.
got to
Yes.
be grab it. I know where the controls are. Aim, fire. Otherwise,
You have to be able to do it in a stressful situation where you
Yes.
don't have time to go, oh yeah, that's here.
Yeah.
Right.
I've heard, you know, many times from several, you know, law enforcement people, trainers, people that train on firearms. They say, you know, in a stressful situation, you return to your training.
Right.
You come back to what you've
Yep.
taught, what
Yep.
you've been taught, what you've taught yourself. You know, you come right back to that.
Right.
So that it's, like you said, second nature.
Right, and if you've had no training, there's nothing to come back to.
Right. You just
Right.
be fumbling around.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. All right. Well, that does it for our gun segment. Up next, we're going to have the political segment of the week. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Gun Nerds TV. It's now our political segment. We're going to talk about Nanny Bloomberg. That guy can't seem to stay out of the news, especially when it comes to guns and everything else that we love, like soft drinks. He's in the news this time for sending one of his guys down to Nevada to register as a
Lobbyist.
And, I mean, it seems like the lines are really fuzzy up there in New York with, you know, where his own personal political, you know, agenda versus the state of New York and what they pay for, the city of New York City, what they pay for. You know, what do you guys think about him sending somebody to register as a lobbyist in Nevada?
Well, number one, it was my understanding, and I may be proved to be incorrect, but the original information that came out with this was that they used tax dollars to fund
Right.
the payment for their lobbyist fees. It's like in the state of Tennessee, if you're going to go to Nashville and actually register as a lobbyist, it costs you a certain number of dollars, and there is some consternation about whether the state paid for that or the city paid for it or whether that came directly out of his own personal fund. But the whole point of the matter is, why didn't he take care of his own backyard? You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are a lot of things that need to be looked after in New York that
Yeah.
would keep him busy all the time. If he really took his constituents' issues to heart,
Right.
he could spend his time
Yeah.
taking care of New York. You know, he was down here in Tennessee a couple of years ago, and he actually funded some straw purchases, which are in fact illegal. He had guys come in and falsify the information that they used to purchase weapons, and in fact committed straw purchases, which is totally illegal.
Right.
You know, just because he thinks that he's smarter than the rest of us, I don't think that should give him largesse to violate
Right.
the rules and to break the laws to
Right.
push his own personal agenda.
Right. I mean, I think the reason why we have states' rights is because we choose to live in a state that's free, like we do here in Tennessee, where we can, you know, purchase guns and you know, live life how we see fit. And he's up in New York, but he's sending people all over the country, you know, to Tennessee, to Nevada. You know, he's not it's not a federal thing, but he seems to treat it like it's a federal thing.
Right.
Well, the other thing is ruling elite mentality that they have, that he's smarter and knows better
Right.
than the guys that actually wrote the Constitution. That's bothersome to me.
Right.
We have a representative republic here. We have a nation of laws. The laws are supposed to be what, everything is founded on. And instead of one man's perception of what should be, what we should do is go back to the founding documents that a group of individuals bet everything they had to gift on to us. This was the first experiment in freedom in the entire world. And it's done pretty well to last as long as it has. And what you see now are guys that are actually coming over here trying to put their own personal agendas out there to take that freedom and liberty away from the rest of us. And that's, again, to me, very, very bothersome.
Yeah. I think that's the root of all of it, is that people like that elitists, we think we're smarter than you, we know better than you. So, Mike, we're going to tell you, you can't drink a certain soft drink, or you can't have salt in your popcorn, or whatever it may be. You just can't govern like that. That's not a free society.
No, it's a complete nanny state.
Right.
And it's,
right.
I mean, that's a freedom. I can choose what I eat.
Right. Right.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us here at Gun Nerds TV. We're just wrapping up our second episode, and we're so glad you joined us. Please subscribe. Comment below. Please keep it civil. Go to gunnerds.tv for more information about us. If you would, put comments below and let us know what you'd like us to do. What gun reviews you'd like to see, what topics you'd like to see us cover. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.